अरे 5 रुपयामध्ये 5 नाही, 5 द्यायची 10 चॉकलेट देतात, 5 दोन्ही 10. एक मिनिट थांब जरा. हॅलो, एक 2 मिनिट थांब, कॉल करतो. 2 मिनिट. पूर्ण कसं काय नाही झालं? अरे 5 मिनिट. हेलो, हाँ मैं एक बात बोल रहा हूँ. सारे नहीं आए, तो 4-5 मिनट में स्टार्ट कर देंगे. लैपटॉप में तो बाहर होता है लाइव है. मेरे फोन में 5 मिनट रहेंगे. हम क्या नहीं कर देते हैं. नाही आताच नको. थांब मेल सोडून समजा. अरे आले कोणतं. काय नको. हेलो, ये स्टार्टअप बिजनेस आइडिया कॉम्पिटिशन है. उसके लिए Windows 8 है ना. एवढीच पोरं कसं काय नाही. थांब 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 5 मिनिटं थांबू बाबा आपली 3 तास पोरांनी वाट बघितली आपण 10 मिनिटं वाट बघू शकत नाही का हां हां ठीक आहे प्लीज कम फर्स्ट मॅन म्हणजे वेटिंग इन द लॉबी टाका सेम सेम झालं ओके
याच्यावर स्ट्रीम चालू आहे व्हिडिओ रेकॉर्ड
माझा आहे रेडी 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 फॉलो करतो तुम्हाला सिस्टम घेऊन जाते
याच्यावर ॲडमिट करतो
सांग तिला चालू करायला वेटला सांग तिला हे तुला सांग
लेकिन वहाँ पे दो चेयर्स बना दी और वो तो पीछे लग जाएगा अच्छा एक बार दो कॉफी एक बार एक बार
वैसे भी ना हो वहाँ पे आपने लगा है ना वो डरने वाला है वो ऊपर लगा हो उसके वो लोगों की जगह पे लगा मेरे को तो लग रहा है एक है ना
Entrepreneurship and research methodology. Her take towards academics is integrating education with spirituality and emotional intelligence. From work experience, she is currently working with Vivekananda Institute of Management Studies in Research Mumbai as an Associate Dean Academic, MMS. She has her papers published in international and national journals. She has written some chapters for the book. She is also the session chair and co-chair in many international conferences. She has also won awards as Women Researcher Award in the International Scientist Awards on Engineering, Science and Medicine, which is going to be held on 16th and 17th April 2021 in Koti, India. She has also received the award for Best Professor in Human Resource Management, and she has also received the Best Faculty in Academics and the Most Favored Teacher Award for the consecutive 4 years. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining in today. You may proceed with the workshop now.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Meg, for the brief introduction.
Thank you, ma'am.
First of all, students, let me say I'm really sorry because the lecture was scheduled at 11 o'clock, and due to some of like miscommunication from my end, because I thought tomorrow is 26th, because we had back-to-back meetings, so I just missed out the date. I was assuming today is 25th, so sorry on my end, so you have to really wait for 2 hours. Okay, let's move the topic. See, any point of time, it's not any typical lectures like where I run the PPT, I keep on going and you just note down the things, and it's nothing like that. I know this all these topics are relevant to the business plan competitions. So I'm also heading the entrepreneurship cell in my college. I'm also handling the family managed business cell in my college. So we keep on running many business. Recently, we have finished with the business plan competition. So I know the need for all these lectures are there, right? So it's more of a discussion. I feel it should be more of a discussion way. So anyway, any point whenever I'm going to the PPTs or having a discussion, you're stuck up. You can unmute yourself. You can unmute your video, whatever you are comfortable with, and then you can ask questions. Please do not hesitate for asking any question, because as such, the discussion is not going to give you any marks and all. So just relax and see the PPTs, understand the concepts. That's going to help you in your business plan competition, and then you can come back to me anytime. I need to share my screen, right? My screen is visible because is my screen visible, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Please, because when I run this screen, so I'm not able to see what's happening behind. So you need to tell me if suddenly my voice gets, frozen or my screen gets frozen. So please let me know. Okay. So as Meg said, the topic for today is problem identification and need finding, right? So any idea, can anyone tell me what do you mean by problem identification? Have you started working on your your business plan? Have anyone have started working? Has anyone thought about what do you mean by problem identification? What do you mean by need finding? Anyone? Please, I want you all to talk. Let's interact. Yes. Yes, Simran. According to your understanding, what do you mean by problem identification?
Ma'am, it basically means that you should study the consumer need that has not been fulfilled till now and the solution that you can propose for the same.
Okay. Okay. Well, I agree with you what you are saying, Simran, and I'll try to understand much more in detail. What do you mean by problem identification and like how to go ahead with it? So before that, before going to the topic of problem identification, let's see a basic topic on what do you mean by creativity and innovation. So you must have often heard this word, with the new generation, be creative, be innovative. The organizations are not also looking for 9 to 6 job person. They are looking about for people who brings along with them innovation, who brings creativity with them to the organization. So it's not only about entrepreneurship. Say business planner, you're participating in business plan. It doesn't mean like you want to be an entrepreneur only. Okay. There's something called as intrapreneurship also. Intrapreneurship is INTRA, intrapreneur. Somebody, can anyone tell me what do you mean by intrapreneur? Entrepreneur, somebody who comes up with a new product or a new service. What do you mean by intrapreneurship? Anyone has heard this word? Yes or no? No answers means no. Should I assume as no? Right? Okay. So see, entrepreneurship means a person who's having those leadership qualities, who's bringing about innovation, who's bringing about change in the organization. He's an employee. Now, suppose I'm working in Vivekanand College. I'm an employee over here. So the management is looking forward or expecting from the employees that they bring about certain change. They bring about policy change, procedure change, a change in teaching methodology, change in interacting with the students, different mode of communication I'm using in suppose we use YouTube's, so many things we use for running the lecture, and like so they are looking forward for such person, right? So a salaried person, definitely an entrepreneur would be a salaried person working as an employee, but who brings about change, who brings about creativity, who brings about innovation in the organization. So this is about entrepreneurship. So irrespective of you coming up with your startup or you planning to join like any organization, you should be creative and you should be innovative. Let's see, there's a very thin line between creativity and innovation. Okay, so creativity is related to imagination. So you imagine, I wish there was now suppose there's a mobile in front of me, so now sometimes what happens, if I need to work as a faculty, my cabin is on the second floor, my lectures on the fifth floor. So when I'm going for my lectures, I need to carry a pen drive, I need to carry a pen, I need to carry my laptop, then those files would be there for attendance, right? Maybe some textbooks I need to carry. So I just wish as a faculty there was a mobile phone, something like this, a mobile phone with a slot over here where I can just simply put insert my pen over here, so I don't have to carry my pen, and maybe a pen drive along with this thing, so I don't need to carry a pen drive, or maybe a small slot, and maybe something, a charging point or something like this, or maybe a small diary, right? Something like this where where this three, so I don't have to pick up a diary, I don't have to pick up a phone, I don't have to pick up this cell phone, something, just one cell phone and everything is there, something like that. So I just wish there was a mobile, something like this, so this is called as creativity. Now, a student like you sitting in any classroom, you observe ki every time the teacher is coming and complaining, ki I wish there was a mobile, something like this. Every time I have to carry the diary, every time I have to carry a mobile, a laptop, or my pen and all those stationery parts. So you try to think, is there a possible solution? Can we bring up a certain solution? So innovation is what? Related to the implementation of the imagination you had. Let the imagination, like your teacher should have something cell phone like this, what I told you, and you try to implement that. So that is called as innovation. So process, so meaning is what, we'll go to the difference between creativity and innovation. It's an act of creating new ideas, new possibilities, new suggestions, see, nowadays laptop bags are coming. It has got a portable charger point also, and the you have got in a lock, a small pocket is there where you can put your money. There are so many things are there, and there are bags are coming which you can make it as a chair, something, and so you're waiting at the airport, just open up your traveling suitcase and just put your money over there, something creativity, so creating new ideas, imaginations, and when those ideas are converted, are implemented, we call them as an innovation. So the process is definitely creativity is imaginative, and here it is productive. So can I measure? Quantifiable means, can I measure creativity? No, I can't. So there was the survey done. So how many thoughts a human person, in microseconds, it's thousands, nearly 20,000 of thoughts process a human mind. Right now, suppose I'm talking to you. Right now also, my subconscious mind, nearly 20, 30,000 of thoughts passes by. Some are registered, some are not registered, but there are continuously waves going on in my brain, in everybody's brain, so we can't measure creativity. So I would have thought, this mobile should be this way. Then I would think it should be the pen slot should be here, it should be here, it should be here, different ways. So you can't measure creativity. But yes, you can measure innovation. Suppose I come up with a new design. So how many I've launched the product, how many, what is the sale of my product? There are 20, suppose 20 such pieces are getting sold in the market. So I can calculate, I can measure, I can quantify innovation, but I can't quantify creativity. Right? So again, it's related something to new, and innovation is bringing something new to the market. For creativity, do we need money? No, we don't need money. I can just sit down, and over here, you all the students can sit down and start thinking, ki, okay, this is the solution, this is the solution. So there's no money involved in creativity, but yes, in innovation, it is. Again, there is no risk factor in creativity, but innovation, definitely there would be a risk factor. Okay. Does creativity and innovation need some language? Should I know Hindi, English, Marathi, Spanish, German, French, any such languages to be creative and innovation, or it doesn't need any language? Come on, tell me. We have got many things to discuss. Please let's answer the things, so it becomes an interesting discussion. What do you feel? Do creativity does it? S is missing. Yeah. Does creativity and innovation need some language? Yes or no, students?
No, ma'am.
No. Right. Who was that? Please tell your share your name also. Because when I'm running the PPT, I can't see. Okay. Right? So there is no language required for creativity and innovation. We'll quickly see a small video which give you a glimpse of if you've got any thought barrier ki yes language is required for creativity, so that concept would be cleared from your mind once you see this video. I think this video is unavailable. Why it is unavailable? Just give me a second. Very interesting video.
Ma'am, till that time, can I answer?
Yeah, please, dear. Yeah.
Yeah, I think creativity doesn't has any language, but when it comes to innovation, we definitely need a medium to express, and language can be one of that. I mean, like we express a lot through our mother tongues and languages and gesture as well.
Okay. That was Simran, right? Who was
No,
that?
I'm Anushka, ma'am.
Akansha. Okay, right. I agree with you, Akansha, ki when like for creativity, for thinking process, but when you want to it, you would need certain language, some communication, right? So let's
Yeah.
see an interesting video, and then again I'll ask this question. Okay. I think this sound I need to do these settings. Na?
That easy, but Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically correct.
Change your nation, but you're biting your tongue. You've spent a lifetime stuck in silence, afraid you'll say something wrong. If no one ever hears it, how we gonna learn this song? So come on, come on, come on, come on. You got a heart that's now is loud, so why let your voice be tamed? Baby, we're a little different. There's no need to be ashamed. You got the light to fight the shadows, so stop hiding it away. Come on, I wanna sing, I wanna shout, I wanna scream till the words dry out. Put it in all of the papers. I'm not afraid. They can read all about it. Read all about it. Oh, oh, and we're waking up the neighbors while we sing away the blues, making sure that we'll remember, yeah, 'cause we don't matter too. If the truth has been forbidden, then we're breaking all the rules. So come on, come on, come on, come on, let's get the TV and the radio to play our tune again. It's about time we got some memory of our version of events. There's no need to be afraid. I will sing with you, my friend. Come on, come on. I wanna sing. I wanna shout. I wanna scream till the words dry out. So put it in all of the papers. I'm not afraid. We can read all about it. Read all about it. Oh, 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 oh. I wanna sing, I wanna shout, I wanna scream till the words
Okay, can anyone tell me what was the act about?
Because they are showing their creativities with the help of play.
Yes, but there's no. But what was the story about? Could you see somebody was falling in love, getting married, having a baby, and then that he, right? Then he is going to for war, and he's killed in the war, right? And then the mother and daughter goes to the graveyard to offer flowers, right? So it was such a wonderful story. Even the judges, the audience, everybody were touched by the story. There was no sounds. Yes, background sound definitely would be there, but there was no communication, verbal communication involved, right? So creativity doesn't need any language, it doesn't need any culture, it doesn't need anything. So to be creative, you can do in any amazing way. So the shadow act is one of the most famous act in abroad. They are well known for their different performance. Okay, so if you get an opportunity, please see their videos. Okay, so this was something about before going to the problem identification, I wanted to clear your concept about creativity and innovation. Okay, now we'll move around something called as problem identification.
Ma'am,
Yes, yes, Simran.
ma'am, so the act that which you showed to us right now, so is it a part of creativity or is it a part of innovation?
Come on, who will answer this? The act was a part of creativity or innovation?
It is a part of the
I
creativity.
think it is a creativity.
Okay. But creativity is imagination, right? So they would have imagined, okay, let's do an act without any verbal communication, without any language. But when they are implementing it, yeah, it's innovation. Na? Creativity is in my mind. But the same act, when I'm performing, it becomes an innovation.
Okay, ma'am.
Now we'll see problem identification. What exactly do you mean by problem identification? How should I do it? Again, see a video called as opportunity discovery. Again, I need to change the setting for the sound.
Hi. You want to be an entrepreneur, but don't know where to start? Don't worry, this is seriously common. The biggest question in front of entrepreneurs is, where do I start? Should I start with the solution, the product, the $1 million idea, or the customer? Look at any successful entrepreneur. You will see that he or she was quick to spot an opportunity and run with it. Most opportunities come hidden as problems. In fact, it is said, where others see problems, entrepreneurs see opportunities. There you have your answer. Identify the problem and you will have your opportunity. But hold on. Opportunities are not always disguised as problems. Sometimes they can be found around a group of people or the customer. For example, as an entrepreneur, you can focus on a specific customer segment like pregnant women and build products and services specific to their needs. You may come up with bioengineered smelling salts, which not only keep nausea at bay but also keep a pregnant woman's vitamin D levels at optimum. In this case, your starting point is your customer, and you build a solution by identifying the problem faced by that customer. There may also be times when the product itself may present the opportunity, like 3D printing. Once the technology is in place, it can be used in many businesses. But by and large, identifying the problem is the key to your opportunity. Unfortunately, entrepreneurs often trip because they start with the solution and not the problem. The lean methodology guru, Ash Maurya, compares starting with the solution to building a key without knowing what door it will open. You can try testing your key on lots of doors, or you can start with the door you want to open. When you fall in love with the problem versus your solution, you start building keys to doors that actually take you places. So, what is a problem? A problem is a job that someone is unable to do or doing with a lot of friction. Therefore, one way to start looking for problems is to look at existing products, alternatives, or pain points. Wherever you find friction or pain points associated with an existing solution, it is a potential problem which you can turn into an opportunity. This is what James Dyson did. He observed that vacuum cleaners were constantly getting clogged with dust and were losing suction. This was a problem for anyone wanting to quickly and effectively clean their house. After over 5,000 failed attempts, he created the Dyson vacuum cleaner, a bagless vacuum that doesn't lose suction as it picks up dust. Sometimes, entrepreneurs need to anticipate future problems too, based on current trends and structural changes. In this case, identifying problems may not be so obvious. Smart entrepreneurs can predict problems that are going to occur. For example, the rise of terrorism generated a new need, the need for face recognition and travel analytics. However, before taking up a problem and creating solutions for it, you need to verify whether the problem is really worth solving. In other words, will people be willing to pay for your solution? How do you do that? Follow these basic steps. First, observe, observe, observe. Observe people and look for a job that they are trying to get done. Study how they are getting it done. Empathize while observing. If you don't, you will not even notice the big and the small points of friction that the customer is experiencing. Any job that is not getting done well is a problem, and therefore an opportunity for you. Once you have the inkling of a problem, find out what is the trigger that is pushing the customer to look for a change. In our earlier vacuum cleaner example, the customers were getting frustrated while using the vacuum cleaner since they were constantly getting clogged with dust and were losing suction. This acted as a trigger to switch over to Dyson's bagless vacuum cleaner, which offered them a seamless cleaning experience. Next, focus on the existing alternatives. What are the other alternatives available to take care of the problem that you have identified? Would the customer's problems be resolved, and would they be better placed by using any of the existing alternatives? Going back to Dyson's example, the only alternative to using vacuum cleaners which were losing suction due to constant clogging was to do the job manually. Therefore, Dyson realized that he definitely had a problem worth solving. Customers would be willing to pay for a hassle-free user experience while using the vacuum cleaner. Having explored the existing solutions, you should now try to understand exactly what job the customer wants to get done by hiring the product. In Dyson's case, it was evident that the customer would switch to a new product or hire it only if it saved them from the frustration of having to keep cleaning the vacuum cleaner to undo the clogging so that it could function smoothly. Therefore, all that the customer wanted from a vacuum cleaner was an uninterrupted, seamless experience. Once you have these answers, you need to validate them from the horse's mouth. That's right, your customer. In the next session, we will learn how to use Ash Maurya's problem interview script to validate these answers and to make sure that you are indeed onto something big.
Okay. Can you tell me what we saw in the video? He was talking about problem solving, or he was talking about these solutions? What was the thing he was telling to focus on?
Problems.
Why not solutions?
Ma'am, because it becomes very important to realize what is the problem that a customer is facing before initially trying to propose a solution for the same. Because if we come out with the solutions first, then there can be a little bit demarcation between the actual need and what we are offering to the customer.
Yeah, and many a time what happens, like I am an entrepreneur, I am facing this problem, so I feel this is the right solution. So I decide ki, okay, because I as a teacher I'm facing, I give you the example, right, of the cell phone with the mobile, the charger point and the pen drive and the pen and all this thing. So I feel there should be a something like this. But when I really design such a product and then I launch the product and I come to my display, it is that ki only few people are facing this problem. They are more comfortable carrying the laptop. They don't want those headache of carrying those pen all the time, because when I'm in the campus, that time only I need, right? I need the pen slot, I need the pen drive slot and all this thing. But when I'm in the market, when out beside this 8 hours, right? Beside this 8 hours, whatever 15, 16 hours I'm spending at home, I don't need this. I don't why I should I carry all the time pen with me? Why should there be a pen drive all the time? So because I was facing this problem, I thought this should be a solution. But when I launched this product without doing the homework, without going to the customers and finding out, so it was a failure. That is the reason, sometimes we feel the customer need the solution. So you should always go out of the building. So there is an exercise. This is a if it was a physical mode, we could have wonderfully done this exercise. I'll share those activities with you. So there's an exercise called as go out of the building. Okay. So you do what, normally you go out and try to find out a problem. Now see, now you are also coming up, you will be coming up with business and competition. So what is the problem that you should take? So you should go out of your classrooms or wherever you are. Go out. Normally when I teach entrepreneurship, I tell students to just go out, go to within 2-3 kilometers of the range, try to see problems. See what happens sitting in the comfortable classrooms in ACs and all. I can think, यार ये problem हो सकता है, वो problem हो सकता है. But when I go to the market, I may see different problems. So the first thing is go out, look around you, identify a problem that you can spot. Then you should explain. I'll share this PPT with the management. They'll share with you. Right, so you should try to identify this thing. If you believe me, if you do this 2-3 exercise, you will really come to a very good problem which has a good potential in the market. So see, business line competition, you never know ki you're just taking for some out of your interest or as a co-curricular activity or maybe just to kill your time. But you would never realize maybe it turns out to be a very good problem and then you come out with a very good business proposal for that. So just a little more efforts and the possibility is there you can coming up with your own venture. See, I'll share the example of Redbus. A student like you, I think everyone is like students who are based in Pune, they would agree with me. In Pune, this transportation is a huge problem. Because when my son was also studying in Symbiosis, whenever I has to travel over there, it was very difficult to get an auto. It is very difficult to get a Ola, Uber. They'll make you wait for half an hour, then they'll cancel it, right? So a student like you, identified this problem. Ki every time I need to go back to Mumbai to visit my house, this problem he was facing on and off. So he came up with an idea. Ki why not to connect all the buses, through an app or something like this. Okay. So he came up from there. The red bus idea that came. Okay. So he was facing that problem, and he spoke to many of his classmates. He spoke to whenever he was traveling to different colleges to for participation in competition. He spoke to different students also. They also agreed. Yes, Pune face Mumbai Pune transportation is a huge problem. So there should be certain solutions. So let's work out. So see, just imagine he was the only one who was facing the problem, and then he come up with an app, and then he realized here, yeah, it was only I was facing, and only few students are facing this problem. So it would have been a disaster. So what he did, wherever he was going for competitions, whenever he was going hanging around with friends, in different colleges, he used to ask them the similar question: ki, are you facing this problem? Ki what, like, how are you trying to solve this problem? What is the way you're commuting? How you commute and all these things. And from he took many interviews, and from there he came to this thing: ki, okay, this is a genuine problem. This need to be solved. So then he came up with the idea of red bus. So the first can be the go out, look around, try to identify the problem, right? What opportunity can you perceive from the above problem? Now, suppose you have written the problem over here, right? I'll give you one more example. See, in my college, there are 5 colleges. We have got engineering, pharmacy, IT, architecture, huge campuses there. So nearly 25,000 students are there in the whole campus. So in one of my design thinking workshop, my students, I send them go and try to find out the problem. So they came up with a problem that there should be a locker system. See, in Mumbai, commuting is a huge problem again. No doubt, local trains and everything is there, but carrying your laptop all the time, because we have the computer labs and all, right? Even you would be having in your colleges. But then sometimes your exams are there, your assignments are there, you want to carry your laptop for 3 4 days, you have your cultural event, you want to carry your dress and something. So it's very difficult to carry those laptop all the time from your place. So they said, "Ki, ma'am, there should be a locker system something in the campus. The way we have got the locker facility at the stations and airport. So where we can keep our luggage for some time, maybe for 1 hour, 2 hour, maybe for 1 day, 2 days and something. So they identified this problem. So what opportunity can you perceive? So they perceived this opportunity ki, okay, this locker system facility, it's not only, so they spoke to students up in the campus. They went to architecture building, they went to engineering building, they spoke to students. They said ki, yes, we are also facing this problem. So they said ki, okay, if we come up with a locker system, something like this, would you use the facility? Readily everybody said yes, right? Yes, we would, but it should be reasonable cost. We as student can't afford a huge cost. Okay. So then you have to identify ki, is there any prospect business from the problem you have identified. Now the locker system was the problem. The student was facing the transportation problem in Pune. So that was a problem. So what from that problem, can you see any opportunity? Can that problem be converted into a possible business? Can it have a solution and then it can be converted into a business? Is the problem worth solving? Okay, do I really need to solve that problem? I give you the example of the pen and all this thing. Is it really worth solving? No, I think it's not really worth solving, because only few faculty like me feel ki there should be a slot, there should be a pen on all this thing, something like this. So it's not a problem worth solving. Okay, then who is the customer? In the first example, the students studying in different colleges would be the customer in Pune and Mumbai. And in the second example I gave you, who's the customer? Definitely the students studying in the Vivekanand College campus, right? They would be using. So you need to write who would be your customer. Now, one more example I'll give you. One of the recent competition where I organized in my college. So one of the student came up with the idea. He observed that his grandparents often used to forget, taking medicines. Normally they have the diabetes. Somebody have got diabetes, thyroid, BP problem. So every now and then, his grandmother used to forget taking the pills. And every time his mother was working, so every time she has to call, she has to keep a reminder in her cell phone. And she from the office, she has to call her mother-in-law, ki bhai medicine le lo. Is that it's 10 o'clock, please take your medicine. It's 1 o'clock, it's please take medicine. So he identified from that problem, he identified an opportunity. So he designed, he came up, he also got a award, some cash prize or some 10,000 something in the competition. He came up with a solution that there should be a water bottle and there should be, pills box, right? Plus, there should be an alarm. Now, okay, the pills are there. Okay, the mother-in-law puts in the morning all the pills. But the problem is what? Not taking the pills, forgetting to take the pills. So they came up with a solution where there is an alarm also. So every 3 hours the alarm used to ring. So around 10 o'clock, so the grandmother used to get an indication. Okay, yes, this is my morning medicine time. Around 1 o'clock, okay, before lunch medicines I can take something like this. And a charging point also. So the senior citizen are there, so they get it from the bed and get the cell phone charge and all. So they were very good design they came up. So you need to identify who is the customer. In this example, he identified the customer would be senior citizen, grandparents, people like maybe somebody like who mentally sick or critical sickness is there, chronic disease are there, who have to be on medication, and somebody who's traveling all the time, something. So those would be the customers. So you need to identify who is the customer. Then what according to the customer are the main problem? According to the customer, not according to me. So it's written up to the student, he feels that my grandmother is facing this problem and he is writing the solution. He should talk to his grandmother and people are similar to their age. Okay, what are the problems you are facing? So they would tell their own perception, they would tell their own story. See, this is the problem. I forget to take medicine, then this happens, that happens. So you should always take the problem viewpoint from the customer, not your viewpoint, right? And what is the job to be done? Job to be done means what? See, what exactly I need to find the solution? What should come in my solution? So the customer is looking forward to something, picking up the pill, so there should be some box or something where they can keep the pill, for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The second problem is what they are facing, the alarm system. There's no, they have to keep on giving a reminder. The daughter-in-law has to keep on giving reminder to the mother-in-law. That is the second job, a reminder, right? Something like this. And maybe a third point can be a charge email follow submission letter. So that will be writing what is the job to be done. Then we move on what job is currently getting done. So how the job is getting done? If I continue with the example of the grandparents, the daughter-in-law is calling up and giving the reminder. Right? The maid is calling up and giving the reminder. The maid has to come to the house at a particular time to give the medicine, something like this. So whenever you're going to interview people, you need to ask them. This sheet should be for one person, one interviewer, right? Suppose if you are going to the market and you're asking me questions, so this all the answers I should give you. Now X person will then go to the second person. So in the similar manner, you should keep on asking the same questions to 10, 20, 30 people, then only you can come to a conclusion if this problem is worth solving or not. Right? I'll go a little quickly because we have many things I need to cover. Okay. So how is the customer getting the job done? We discuss about that. How are they solving the problem? Estimate the market size. Then you can estimate okay, it's all about grandparents and senior citizens. So you can go to the website or you can Google it. Okay, what is the ratio? Like how many senior citizens are there in the country? Now suppose if you're marketing, let's say Maharashtra, you're planning to market initially in Pune. Okay, your product. So what would be the market size, right? You just have a tentative figure, maybe 10%, 20%, 5%, something like this. Most important thing is, do you feel this problem is worth solving or not? You need to explain why it is worth solving, It's not just because I feel, because what the customer feel, okay? So there's an example also here, what do you mean? So I won't read this thing, I will share with all the three exercises. There are three activities. See, this is worth solving one, the similar manner worth solving two, and finally, from whatever exercise you have done, you can get to 3, 4 ideas, best ideas how to solve the problem. Because I gave you the example of that bottle. You can have a different bottle. You can have a kettle also. There's a water kettle also. Because the grandparents are also facing the problem to they need tea and coffee all the time. So maybe when you get up, make tea. So that you can forget to switch off the gas and all in order to make the tea. So you can come to a solution where they have a water kettle. And in that only you have all the medicine pill ka box, alarm is there. So different solutions. So you can record the ideas, And then finally when we do the prototyping and all these things, then it comes handy. All these things comes handy. That was one problem identification. So what is problem cycle? Normally the problem which occurs most often to a specific group of people. See, in my first example, the local system I gave you, specific group of people, students studying in Vivekanand College, in a huge campus, in this campus. Okay? They often coming up with the problem because see, every year they have got exams, every year new type of students are coming, they have got exams, they have got cultural events, so they have to submit assignments. It's frequently happening, right? So a certain situation or context triggers the problem. Then what happens? The problem manifests through symptoms. You try to keep on understanding. Just as a grandparents example to take it, you try to understand. Keep on the problem is repeating every day. Every day, the daughter-in-law has to leave her office work and she has to keep on reminding the grandparents to please take your medicines. So it becomes a root cause for that problem. You need to understand what is the and what may happen. The daughter-in-law may get so frustrated, even she may forget to call up the grandparents, right? Because she has to work also. She's working in the office. Just imagine now. Suppose I'm working and delivering a lecture right now, and 2 o'clock. Suppose if my mother-in-law's or my mom's or anyone's medicine time, and I have to say sorry, student, let me give me 2 minutes. There's an important call. I have to stop my this thing and you need to pick up, call and tell my mom to please take your medicine. And then she'll ask me, there is no medicine, this is not there, there is not there, then again I have to keep up, then again I have to come to the lecture, right? So it's very stressful, okay? So situations are very stressful. So it brings about an emotional reaction, okay? So the problem, so the problem I'm facing, okay, I may say, sorry, excuse me for 2 minutes, I can pick up the call. But daily it happens. See, since 1 year we are teaching online. Just imagine. And if it happens continuous online, it's fine. Like I'm working, and all this thing. So every time I have to pick up and give a reminder. So it may happen. It may impact my work. This thing. and the problem has a measurable impact on my career, on my life, on my personal, my professional life, right? So what happens? The customer starts looking for existing solution. So they may keep an alarm in the house. They may hire a maid. Something to try to find out a solution, because the solution right now what I'm giving is not, is not helping me out. Okay, so they try to. So the customers start looking for alternatives, so they try to find the alternatives. Then it may happen, they start try to Google, is there any such thing, there's a bottle is there, where an alarm is there, where they can keep the medicines also and charging point also, something. So they try to Google it, they try to find solutions. Okay. So this is normally a problem cycle which goes around. And what is the process? Finally, first we define the problem. When we say problem statement, what happens? In problem statement, we should be very specific. Now, suppose if I am saying, I'm trying to solve the problem of I'm coming with the trying to solve the problem of students carrying heavy laptop and all these things. So the solution is what? E-locker system. So that problem I'm trying to solve is for all the colleges in Chembur. Suppose my college is in Chembur, right? So am I trying to solve problems of all students studying in Chembur, or am I trying to solve problem of students studying in Vivekanand campus? So I'm trying to solve problem related to students studying in Vivekanand campus. You should be specific. You should specify. In the other example of many parents, am I trying to solve problem of all the senior citizen in the world, or am I trying to solve the problem of senior citizen, like in particular state, particular country, or particular this thing, or what is the age group, which age group I'm targeting, which part area of the country I'm targeting. You should be very specific when you are designing your problem statement. Okay, you can't generalize your problem. Yes, I'll find out solution for all the senior citizen in the world. No, it can't be that. You need to be very specific when you're designing your problem. Now, see that in that video we saw, he gave an example of, suppose you're trying to solve a problem of, say, pregnant women, right? They feel nauseatic and all this thing in the morning. So they came up with a solution of, iodized salt, something like this. So you should be very specific which area, which part you are trying to solve. See, the anti-aging creams are there. So that is particularly related to, male and female above 40, anti-aging, right? So when they design those concepts, when they design those the product and the services, so they are very, very specific which area are you targeting. Okay. Then you try to generate alternative solutions. Okay, yes, this solution would work, or this solution would work. I think in design thinking workshop you'll understand all this when I'm talking about solutions, right? And from those solutions, right, you try to find out, okay, which would be the best solution. Right? Suppose I give you the example of that bottle. So you try to find out, okay, that bottle was the best solution, or should I have a kettle in that I should have a solution, or maybe some one different solution should I come up. So you try to understand different solutions, and from those solutions you try to implement one solution and follow up. Then there are three I's. I hope students you are getting what I am discussing, because any doubts, any questions till now? Anyone?
No, ma'am.
I hope it's not too fast, right? I would have loved it if it was 1-to-1, because it's okay, we can't help it out. Okay. The three I's of creativity and innovation. And there's something called an insight. When you're doing a problem identification, you should have a customer insight. Okay. What do you mean by insight? We'll see in future videos. So, insight should be there, idea should be there, it should impact their problems. So this all brings about the innovation. So every human being, all those 20-40 students sitting over there, including me over here, everybody has got left brain and right brain, right? So, but what happens, some part of people with left brain, they are the engineers, the mathematicians, the professors, they are what more of the left brain. So their left brain is more dominated. And those artists, singers, writers, painters, so their imaginative brain, who are more spiritual and all this thing, so their right brain is more active. We have got both brains, but in some people right brain is more active, so their right brain works in this way. They will be more creative. They will write good songs, good poems, and all this thing. So So that is the difference between left brain and right brain. Just for your knowledge, I put up all this thing. Now we'll talk about there's something, problem identification. So there is a company, the concept design thinking. Now from where the design thinking concept came. David Kelly was a person. Okay, he was working in university, Stanford University. Okay, University of Stanford. He was working, a very good professor. There he came up with this idea of design thinking. Okay, and then like working with Stanford University for a long time, then he came up with his own company called as IDEO company. Okay, so whatever changes you see, macrolevel changes, the innovative things, whatever you see across every IDEO company is bought up. So you can also go to the IDEO company, you can say, okay, this is my product, I want to modify my product. So they charge you some good amount and then modify and innovative things in your product and give you. So we'll see the video where the IDEO company was given the work. See, shopping cart, you go to DMart and you go to all the shopping malls and all this thing, you get a trolley, the shopping cart, and you put all your goods and all this thing, vegetables, fruits and all those shopping things. The one TV channel, they had given them the assignment, we give you a week time and this is a shopping cart. Okay, we want you to modify in the most innovative way. Okay, so how they did, what they did, so please listen to the video carefully. I will be asking few questions based on that. So you need to understand, try to see what they are talking. It's more of a communication. They are talking, they are going to the market. So be observant. See, problem identification, the most important thing is observe and observe, right? You need to be observant. So be observant in the video, right?
It used to be that you deferred to the boss.
Is it the boss is always going to have the best ideas? Not likely.
Here, nimble fingers, alert minds, and tireless machines.
And it used to be in most companies that chaos was discouraged.
This is where the crazies live. This is where we do our work. It's different.
Good morning. Good morning.
Used to be you were supposed to climb the corporate ladder.
Status is who comes up with the best ideas, not who's the oldest, not who's been with the company longest, not who has that biggest title. If you go into a culture and there's a bunch of stiffs going around, I can guarantee they're not likely to invent anything.
You could stack us up big as big as you want.
That's great. Thanks a lot. We had a great time today.
Well, forget the way it used to be. Tonight, the deep dive. One company's secret weapon for innovation. A lot further along in this broadcast, near the end as a matter of fact, you will hear one of the central characters suggest that we look around. The only thing that's not designed by anybody, he will say, is nature. Actually, you could say the same thing by observing that the only designs that don't require constant modification are the ones we find in nature. But the point is well taken. From the buildings in which we live and work to the cars we, because no one has ever suggested and would it be in the program? We went to IDEO, the product design folk, and take something old and familiar, like, say, the shopping cart, and completely redesign it for us in just 5 days. ABC News correspondent Jack Smith tells us what happened next.
9 in the morning, day one, and these people have a deadline to meet.
So welcome to the kickoff of the shopping cart project.
This is Palo Alto, California, in the heart of Silicon Valley, and these are designers at IDEO, probably the most influential product development firm in the world. Designers are the reason TVs have square screens, chairs 4 legs, and toothbrushes nowadays those squishy handles. In fact, it was IDEO that designed those squishy handles. IDEO has designed everything from high-tech medical equipment to the 25-foot mechanical whale in the movie Free Willy and the first computer mouse for Apple. Smith ski goggles, Nike sunglasses, NEC computer screens. Hundreds of products we take for granted.
This is called the Neat Squeeze toothpaste tube, which
you invented that. The man who runs IDEO is Dave Kelly, a Stanford engineering professor with a Groucho Marx mustache, a dad of genius, and an approach to innovation that usually works.
Well, thank you, Fred.
But not always.
I can show you some products that failed. Came up with this idea called monster shoes, where you take these little monsters and lace them into your shoes like this. And we built a bunch of them, and I didn't want those either. So
mostly what IDEO designs, though, does work, and it works very well. Dave and his design teams create about 90 new products every year.
The point is that we're not actually experts at any given area. You know, we're kind of experts on the process of how you design stuff. So we don't care if you give us a toothbrush, a toothpaste tube, a tractor, a space shuttle, you know, a chair. It's all the same to us. We want to figure out how to innovate by using our process, applying it.
And so for the next 5 days, the team will apply that process to bringing the supermarket shopping cart into the 21st century.
I think first we should maybe all acknowledge that it's kind of insane to do an entire project in a week.
Project leader is Peter Skillman, a 35-year-old Stanford engineer. Project leader because he's good with groups, not because of seniority. He's only been at IDEO for 6 years. The rest of the team is eclectic, but that's typical here. Whitney Mortimer, Harvard MBA. Peter Coughlin, linguist. Tom Kelly, Dave's brother, marketing expert. Jane Fulton-Suri, psychologist. Alex Kazaks, 26, a biology major, who's turned down medical school 3 times because he's having too much fun at IDEO.
Kids climbing up and doing this.
Kids do that.
Safety emerges early as an important issue.
22,000 child injuries a year, and so they're hospitalized injuries. I mean, there are many others.
Not reported in the store. That's you actually have to go to the
that's
emergency room.
hospitalized. Right.
And theft. It turns out a lot of carts are stolen.
You know, what is the average life of a cart? Does it last 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? And how big is this theft thing?
10 a.m. As the team works, it becomes clear there are no titles here, no permanent assignments.
The other side says, gives us a lot of help, says, be safe.
Everyone appears to be equal, and they love to mock corporate America.
I'll give you status. I'll give you a big red ball on a post, and that says you're a big guy. If you got a ball, you're a senior vice president. You know, what do I care? The desk, the red ball, it's all the same. In a very innovative culture, you can't have a kind of hierarchy of here's the boss and the next person down, the next person down, the next person down, because it's impossible that the boss is the one who's had the insightful experience with shopping carts. It's just not possible.
According to Kelly, even employees who merely listen to the boss don't add that much either.
So you gotta hire people who don't listen to you, and that I don't think corporate America wants to hear that right yet.
I think we ought to start making those lists about the kinds of questions that we're going to ask.
The team splits into groups to find out firsthand what the people who use, make, and repair shopping carts really think.
Okay, go.
The problem with the plastic cart is the wind catches it. Yeah. And these things have been clocked at 35 across the parking lot. Man, that's actually a pretty good point.
The trick is to find these real experts, and so that you can learn much more quickly than you could by just kind of doing it in the normal way and trying to learn about it yourself.
From everything I read, these things aren't that safe either, you know? So probably the seat itself is going to have to be redesigned.
What you're seeing here is the kind of social science, like anthropologists, you know, like you go and study tribes. What is it that they do that we can learn from that will help us design a better cart?
One of the interesting things for me is looking at how people really don't like to let go of the cart, except for the professional shopper, whose strategy is to leave the cart at various places.
In corporate America, many bosses measure whether their people are, who the good people or the people who are performing are the ones that they see at their desk all the time. That couldn't be further from the truth. The people who are really getting the information are out here talking to the buzzes of the world, going to meet other experts, much more useful than sitting at your desk.
It's 3:30 in the afternoon, and the group is back at IDEO. There is no let-up.
Each team is going to demonstrate and communicate and share everything that they've learned today. People went off into the four corners of the earth and are coming back with the golden keys to the innovation.
A shopping cart has been clocked at 35 miles an hour traveling through a parking lot in the wind.
We were in the store, 2 hours, and it was truly frightening just to see the kind of stuff going on.
You got to designate some people to make damn sure that the store owner's point of view is represented.
After 9 straight hours, the team is tired. They call it a day.
So,
everybody cool?
Well, that's great. Thanks a lot. We had a great time today. Get together and start here.
Day 2 and the start of IDEO's unique brand of brainstorming. They call it a deep dive, a sort of total immersion in the problem at hand. IDEO's mantra for innovation is written everywhere. One conversation at a time. Stay focused. Encourage wild ideas. Defer judgment. Build on the ideas of others.
That's the hardest thing for people to do, is to restrain themselves from criticizing an idea. So if anybody starts to nail an idea, they get the bell.
The deep dive begins, and for the next few hours, the ideas pour out and are posted on the walls.
Oh, the blind, the privacy blind. Like when you're buying 6 cases of condoms, no one sees. Nesting is, it sort of has to nest. If it doesn't nest, we don't have a solution.
Velcro pants and Velcro seats for the kids, and you just drop them down on there.
Like Velcro seats? Velcro pants for kids?
Yeah, see, you have to have some wild ideas. And then you build on those wild ideas, and they end up being better ideas than if you said, if everybody only came up with sane things, kind of appropriate things, you'd never have any points to take off to build a really innovative idea.
It's organized chaos.
Organized chaos. It's not organized. What it is it's focused chaos.
By 11 a.m., the group begins narrowing down the hundreds of ideas written or drawn on the walls. How? By voting for them.
Vote with your Post-it, not with an idea that's cool, but with an idea that's cool and buildable. If it's too far out there and it can't be built in a day, then I don't think we should vote on it.
Why not have you be the judge? You're the boss.
Because I'm going to be wrong. It's the team that's able to really judge what the best idea.
Otherwise, ideas wouldn't come out.
That's right. Enlightened trial and error succeeds over the planning of lone genius.
Enlightened trial and error succeeds over the planning of the lone genius. If anything sums up IDEO's approach, that is it. That and the focused chaos that seems to go with it.
I take a point of view, I call it the sport utility vehicle cart.
It is noon. Worried that the team is drifting, what can only be called a group of self-appointed adults under Dave Kelly holds an informal side session.
We don't want to tell them what to build, or else we take away the benefit of the whole thing, right?
What needs should they optimize their solution to?
Yes.
The purpose is to refocus the deep dive.
Maybe we arbitrarily say we do 5 teams. 4 or 5 teams. 4 or 5 teams, and we give each team a need area. Hey, can we grab everybody over to the wall here? There has to be a command decision. It becomes very autocratic for a very short period of time in defining what things people are going to work on.
Like it or not, the team is told it will split into groups to build mock-ups covering 4 areas of concern that have been identified. Shopping, safety, checkout, and finding what you're looking for.
I noticed that toward the end of the process, the adults took over.
Yeah, that's because we have no choice but to stop that cycle. I mean, there's if you don't work under time constraints, you could never get anything done because it's a messy process and go on forever.
While the team starts building prototypes, Dave Kelly takes me on a tour of the rest of IDEO.
What's happening in here is that's a client meeting. That's a first client meeting. That's the first time we've met with the client. So we haven't trained them yet. If we took them straight from there into a room where music was blaring and everybody was throwing Nerf darts at each other, that would be a little hard to take. So we're warming them up. But this is this is where the crazies live. This is where we do our work. It's different. You can tell whether a place is playful in about the first 15 minutes as you walk down the hall. Being playful is of huge importance for being innovative. I mean, if you go into a culture and there's a bunch of stiffs going around, they're not, I can guarantee they're not likely to invent anything.
Invent anything like this futuristic-looking instrument for kids. So no matter what you do with that thing, you always
sound great.
You always sound good.
You have to make it so that this can happen.
Whoa, it didn't break.
No, it didn't break.
There's a whole department at IDEO devoted to toys. Turns out to be one of its most profitable areas. Fun, too.
So it got these little wings, and no matter what you do, if I get in trouble here, it's always a spiral.
At IDEO, they found that fresh ideas come faster in a fun place. Not only is the furniture on wheels to suit the needs of the moment, but people are encouraged actually to build their own work areas.
And they were designing this space, and they said to me, you know, we'd like to have, $4,000 extra in our budget for a DC-3 wing. And I said, DC, you have to have that? And they said, yeah, they have to have it. So
that's a DC-3 wing.
Piece of a DC-3 wing, yeah.
And that's just decor.
That's decor. That's ambiance. That says we're weird, and we're proud of it.
Umbrellas on the ceiling to shade computer screens from direct sunlight, and bicycles on ropes to prevent clutter.
The first guy who hung a bike up on a thing, he didn't come to me and ask me. He didn't ask some facilities person whether it was okay. He tried it, and then waited and see if anybody complained. If nobody complained, another guy hung a bike up. And pretty soon everybody's got their bikes up and nobody's complained, right? So it's that whole thing of trying stuff and ask forgiveness, instead of asking permission. It's the way people come up with new ideas.
IDEO has such a reputation for innovation that client companies are increasingly asking Dave not just for new products, but also to remake their corporate cultures. You may be looking at the workplace of the future here.
It's one thing to be able to do a product once in a while, but if you can build a culture and a process where you routinely come up with great ideas, that's what the companies really want.
Okay, Peter, we're done.
Back at the shop, it is 6 o'clock. The 4 mock-ups are ready for showing.
Baskets also can be, if you think you will have more volume, baskets can be put in.
A modular shopping cart you pile hand baskets onto. A high-tech cart that gets you through the traffic jam at checkout.
That you could mount a scanner on the shopping cart so that you as the customer, as you pull it off the shelf, would scan each item.
One that's built around child safety, and another that lets shoppers talk to the supermarket staff remotely.
Yeah, where can I find a yogurt?
But the adults, again, decide more work needs to be done before the mock-ups can be combined into one last prototype.
Why don't we have all the carts come up here for a second?
I think you take a piece of each one of these ideas and kind of back it off a little bit and then put it in the design.
The design is still not there. But there's another motto at IDEO: fail often in order to succeed sooner. And some of the team will be up half the night trying to put together a design that finally does work. It is day 5, and Dave Kelly has no idea what the final cart looks like. Only the team does.
If they kind of got their heads down, they don't look at me, I'm nervous. If they say, wait till you see it, then I know we're in good shape. So I'm getting wait until you see it. I think that'll be good.
There it is! So we took the best elements out of each prototype, designed this entire cart in a day, and then this cart was fabricated in a day with an amazing team of people in our machine shop pulling this off, working in shifts throughout the night.
Wow, I'm impressed.
So are we.
The cart, which is designed to cost about the same as today's carts, is different in every other way. Hand baskets that stack in a metal frame, and major improvements for all.
You just lift the handle up, you drop put the children in, and then you can close the handle right over them, and they instantly have some little bit of a work surface that they can play with.
What do you think?
Well, I'm very proud of the team. I think it's great.
Does this work for you?
Works for me great. It's also beautiful. I mean, let's take it over to a local supermarket and see what they say.
Yeah, it works really well.
The cart's wheels turn 90 degrees so it can move sideways. No more lifting up the rear in a tight spot. and you shop in a totally different way.
Rather than taking your cart everywhere you go in the store, through a crowded store like this, much more efficient to take a small basket, rush around to where the particular shelves are, and come back and put them here, and treat this as like a center for your shopping.
And with a high-tech scanner, so that in the future you skip the checkout traffic jam.
Here's how you would scan an item. You reach over and pick up anything like the salad dressing, and I would scan it, and if I want to accept that item, I would just press plus and then drop it in my basket.
Because stores don't yet have those high-tech scanners the team designed, checking out today means doing it the old-fashioned way. But the bags are hung on hooks on the cart's frame. Remember, there is no basket here.
Why get rid of the big basket?
The basket is tyranny. The basket is tyranny because it's not really needed. If all your stuff ends up in bags, why need the basket in the first place?
Talk to me about theft.
There's no value in this cart without the basket because you can't carry anything. It's useless to anybody. You can't use it as a barbecue.
So it's not going to get stolen.
That's right.
So this ought to appeal to store owners.
Yes.
I love it. I think it looks great.
At first, I was a little shocked, but I think you have some fantastic ideas here. It needs a little refining, but I think that it's great. I mean, we would want them.
It makes us feel great. And she also gave us some really good comments about how we can make this thing better.
Just wherever you are, look around. The only thing that's not designed by somebody like is nature. So the trees are not designed by us.
Can we have quickly discussion on about the video you have seen? Yes, students, because it's great, yeah. But what was the concept? What was the idea? Can you tell me? Okay, let's start with. Yes,
Ma'am, this is the product development firm which are developing pre-designed products, and they are making some trolleys which you can carry your child comfortably, and yes,
okay.
This is the.
Okay. Any more other inputs from anyone?
So ma'am, this video basically showed us the innovation of the team, that how they all first found the problem that was making the trolley compatible for the children as well as the people, and then they brainstormed the ideas to get to the solution.
And one more thing, I don't know you all have observed or not, when they were having a discussion about the background of all the team members. One was a psychologist, one was a scientist, one was an engineer, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, that is a notable, madam. Means psychological also can give the input. How is your product? How people can think about your product?
Yes,
they were able to watch from all aspects because of the diverse background.
Yes, a psychologist would have a psychological view. You know, a biomedical student was there, an engineer was there, marketing guy was there. You know, so diversified team would be working. So one more concept comes over here is diversified team plus something called as a user perspective. See, till now we always see what the customer wants, what the consumer want, right? Now, suppose if I say about the trolley, who would be using the trolley, the shopping cart? Who would be using? The supermarket stores or the retailers, or like we as consumers would be using, right? But we don't see the perspective of the user. The user means what? The person who's repairing also. See, whenever the trolley is broke or it's not working, the trolley is going for repairing to a technician or a technical person or a mechanician, something, right? So even he would be using a trolley. So here the concept comes about the user. So whenever you're identifying a problem, think about the user perspective. So go beyond the customer and the consumer, what the customer wants, what the consumer wants. Go beyond that and think about the user. So in this shopping cart, you see, okay, the people, the superstore people are the stores people are the person who would be using the trolley. We as common person, when we are going for shopping, we would be using as the trolley, the consumers, the customers. But when the trolley is broke or something is going for repairing, the mechanician should also be able to use, open the trolley in a comfortable way. Immediately he should open the whatever is missing, he should be able to repair it fast. It should not happen. The trolley takes 2-3 days to repair. Okay. So here we talk about user perspective. So whenever you are doing problem identification, always remember user. Right? Suppose I am using, I give you the example about the cell phone, okay? Now suppose the phone is not working, suppose the slot, the pen, the ball pen slot, suppose you have made over here. I'm putting my pen over here, there's something breaks off the pen, something breaks over here, my mobile is good. Only the slot of my pen is not, it's broken, right? So what should I do? So when I take this thing to the market for somebody to repair it, he should be able to repair it. It should not happen. He's not able to open the phone only, right? It should not. You should not design your product in such a way he's not able to use it. So the concept of user comes into picture. So always remember user as a whole when you're designing your product or when you're identifying your product, right? We'll move on to the next topic. Yes, so this is called as the electric non-hierarchical team. You must have seen that there was no hierarchy, there was no boss. David was the person, Kelly was the person, and like they had the free choice, you know, you can design your desktop also, you know, your workstation. So you could see your bicycle hung on the air, you know. So whenever, you know, whenever people are left free, you know, so they are given free culture, more innovation comes. Okay. Again, need finding, and the next topic is need finding. You know, so need finding is a part of design thinking. Uh, about, like we talk about, we look without knowing what we are looking for. We trust that the ability to define the problem, to understand the need of that problem in a detailed way. We call it as need finding. And here the concept of human-centered design comes into picture. Now, what is human-centered design? We'll see. In human-centered design, we try to immerse, we try to empathize. Empathize means I put myself in that shoes, right? Now, suppose if I'm giving you the example of students, the locker system. So I think as a student, okay, you know, so I really have to carry heavy laptop, my books, my assignment. I have to catch a local train in the morning, late evening hours. I need to again catch up my local train. There would be too much of traffic and rush and all these things. So I need to empathize with the my customer, right? That's the most important part of human-centered designs, right? You need to immerse yourself. You need to immerse in the problem of the customer. You need to empathize them. Then only you can come up with a better solution. So there are three parts for the framework for human-centered design. The first is feasibility. Is it possible? First is desirability. Is it useful? Now suppose I gave you this example of the same cell phone and with having a slot of a pen and having a slot of a pen drive and some portable, some charging point, something like this. So is this my need or is it desirable? Everybody needs, would my product be successful? Do people really need this product? Is it the need of this product in the market or not? Is it useful or not? So we say desirability. So D, F and V, we always say for HCD, we say D, F and V, right? So is it desirable? Okay. Then feasibility, is it possible? Do I have the resources? Do I have that money? Do I have that technology? Right? Suppose in my country, I'm planning to come up with some new product like this. So do I have those technology? Can I afford to make it this product the way I'm telling you, you know, like something like this I told you here, for example. Like for the example, I gave you the example of my students who made a bottle, you know, with slot, with an alarm, with a charging point, something. Is it possible? Do I have the technology? Do I have those resources or not? So that is called as feasibility of that product, okay? Of the problem identified, right? Which you're planning to come up with a solution. And viability. Is it profitable? Now I design a product and it's costing me 1,000 rupee and selling it 900 rupee. So it's not profitable, you know, I'm doing minus 100 rupee loss, you know. So you need to see viability also. Okay, very good idea. I've identified a problem. A very good locker system I come up. You know, but the charges are what, something 1,000 rupee per hour. So student won't be able to afford that, because I need to take out those costs, because I spend a huge amount. I build up a huge locker system, which was not required. But I felt, you know, there should be a huge big locker facility in my campus, you know. So I have designed a huge locker, this thing, which all modern gadgets and everything, you know. And to incur that cost, you know, with the maintenance of those things, you know, it's, I need to spend minimum for 2,000. If you keep your goods, if you hire that locker for 2 hours, you need to give me 2,000 rupees. No students is going to use that. So viability, is it profitable or not, you know? So whenever you're going for problem identification and when you're planning for your solution, you should always try to see, is the product desirable? is the product making feasible? Is the problem feasible? Is it viable to make or not? You should always think about these three things. One more very interesting, video about innovation is a student like you only, I think students face the problem of getting up early in the morning, right? So a student like you was facing the similar problem and he came up with a very good solution. This is a product, this is an Indian product, an Indian student have made, so he was facing the problem, getting up, we snooze the alarm, right? So he came up with this solution. So when you try to touch, there's a sensor over there. When you try to touch, alarm goes, the clock goes away from you, right? So see his problem, he identified, then he spoke to all of his friends, and majority of his friends said, yes, even we face the problem of getting up early in the morning, so what should be the solution? So in that problem, he has identified certain opportunities. He came up with this solution. I'll skip the type of thinking because we have to do many things. Yeah, so tools for exploring, so what are the different tools for problem identification? Okay, so insight. Remember that 3I was talking about customer insight. So when you're talking, when you're taking interviews of problem, interviews you're taking, you try to understand the customer, you try to understand what the customer is telling, So this is called as the customer insight. See, normally we don't understand. Now, suppose the customer is telling you, okay, suppose I'm telling you about this problem about I need to carry a pen, I need to carry this thing. So I as a customer, I'm telling you something. So you as a person, you as an entrepreneur need to identify my insight I'm giving you. Okay. What are those problems I'm facing? What are the solutions I'm looking forward? So it is called the aha moment of truth about the customer means, yes, this is the one point, this is the one problem the customer wants to address, wants to solve, right? So this is called the insight. And for insight, I've got a very interesting video by Mohan Seve, he has given, how you should take your interviews, when the customer is telling you, sharing his or her problem, what should you see in that, what should you try to do in that, a very interesting video.
A foundational principle in marketing and customer value is that customer value is based on a deeper and a better understanding of customers or better customer insight. So the question that arises is, what is a customer insight? And more importantly, how do we get it? How do we get better at getting customer insights? So I think of a customer insight as a fresh and a non-obvious way of understanding customer needs, customer behaviors, or more importantly, customer frustrations that can become the basis for a business opportunity. So what do I mean by not yet obvious or not obvious to other people? It's sometimes an insight is a way of looking that other people have not only not seen, but actually consider to be counterintuitive. If the herd is moving in one direction, you move in the opposite direction, and that sometimes may be insightful. Let's take a couple of examples. If you were to locate a retail store, where would you want to put it? Well, it stands to reason that you'd put it where there's a lot of customers or a lot of people. And also, if you had fewer people in the area, fewer customers in the area, the size of your store should be smaller. But then along comes Sam Walton at Walmart and says, what I'm going to do is actually put very large stores in the middle of nowhere. Now, what was his insight? He had understood that as the highway system had improved in the United States as a result of the Eisenhower highway bill, it was now easier for customers to travel longer distances to go to a supermarket. Also, it was cheaper now to ship your products to the store. So based on that, he realized that if you built a very large store where there were few people, but if they were coming over from a much larger radius, you actually had enough demand. And more importantly, you actually had no competition. So this was the foundation of Walmart, but it was counterintuitive. Similarly, one of my students who used to work for Apple told me that when he was the product manager for the iMac, when they were first coming out with the iMac, they had everything was locked and loaded. They were ready to go to the market when Steve Jobs called a meeting and said, "We're going to do 4 colors." And all the left-brain people in the audience kind of said, "This is nuts. We're going to increase our inventory. We're going to create problems with forecasting. We're going to delay the launch. So what's the big deal with colors?" And Jobs said, "Well, we're going to do 4 colors because color is the way people express themselves. And it really makes the computer more personal, more of an expression or reflection of your personality." And of course, color had a very important role to play in the success of the first iMac. And if you recall, their advertising tagline was, "Sorry, no beige, think different." So that really became the cornerstone of their campaign. But again, not very obvious to people because it really involves questioning conventional wisdom. So customer insights, a few sort of ideas on customer insights are that, first of all, they will never come from quantitative market research. So don't look for them in your surveys because customer insights involve going deep, building empathy with customers and trying to understand their point of view. So it's the qualitative research, the exploratory research, the empathic design, where you really seek closeness with customers and really try to understand their lives and how they're thinking. That will lead to better insights. It's really the notion of exploration. It's the notion of sort of really using eclectic methods of trying to really get closer to your customers. Also, customer insights often come from anomalies. Anomalies are a great way to begin to think about insights. So what is an anomaly? For instance, when Kodak was entering the market for digital cameras, they found an anomaly. The anomaly was that all the analog film and cameras in the home, 75% of the pictures were taken by women. The women are the memory keepers of the family. But in digital, they found there was less than a quarter of the pictures were being taken by women. Now, why was that? So this was an anomaly. As they dug deeper, what they discovered was that women had 3 problems with digital cameras. First, whenever I want to use it, the battery's always dead. Second, even if I can use it, it has too many buttons and too many features, it's too complicated. Third, even after I take the pictures, I don't know what to do with them. It's too complicated to get them into my computer or onto the internet. So they simplified this entire process and came up with the easy concept, the easy share camera, the easy picture gallery, and so on. And that became a cornerstone of their success, the ease of use. So an anomaly is a great place to start looking for customer insights. And also customer insights can sometimes come from the intersection of trends. And when I spoke with the team that had built the first iPod, their insight was that if we look at the one trend, which is personal music, which the Walkman, of course, had been very successful. And the other trend was digital music, which Napster had become very successful. Now, the convergence of these trends, which is personal digital music, should be a huge opportunity. But in fact, that market had not really developed the way it should have. So that became the basis for Apple's investigation on why is this the case. And what they found there was that people wanted to take all their music with them in an unobtrusive way, and they also wanted a simple way to actually download and use music legally. So the three innovations that they created was the size, which was a pack of cards, the storage, which was 10,000 songs, and the third was an easy way for you to buy and make music legally, which was iTunes. And this is history. So that's really what customer insights are. They are a penetrating view of the obvious and looking at things differently, and really doing it by getting into the minds and the lives of customers and moving your own blinders. Because as someone once said about customer insight, it's about walking in the customer's shoes. But first, you have to take off your own.
So well said. Now, first you need to walk in the shoes of the customer, but first you need to take out your own shoes, right? So what is the meaning of that? Anyone? Take out your own shoes means what?
Basically getting out of our own comfort zone and our own perspectives of thinking, or the set of fixed vision we have always.
Yeah. Yes, Anuksha, right. So we normally try to think from our perspective, and customer insights tells you should try to see what the customer is looking forward to solve the problems, right? What are the solution he is looking forward? What exactly are the jobs he wants us to be done? Okay, we should not have our perspective. See, customer insights. He gave such a good example of that Apple when they were planning to launch, and he said it should come in 4 colors. Okay. And the whole team said, it would delay the launch, and nobody's going to buy color phone and all this thing. And he said, colors, emotions. Humans are like connected with emotions, and color play a huge role in emotions. And that is the reason they came up with this thing. Then he gave the example of Kodak camera. Right, so many examples he gave. Then he gave the example of the customer, the music things. So the customer insights, so whenever you're going for problem identification, what is the customer telling you? What is the customer insight? What he or she telling you? You should be very attentive. You should be very observant. Try to understand. Try to write down the words. So whenever you're going for taking interviews, so you should always write the verbatim. Verbatim is what he or she has told. Suppose I told you, I'm facing the problem every time I go to my class. I have to pick up this mobile phone. I need to pick up this pen. I need to pick up this diary. So whatever I told you, word to word, you write in the sheet of paper, that is called as a verbatim. Then you try to analyze what Dr. Jyoti meant, what she meant for that problem. So this is called as customer insights. Customer insights is very, very important when you're doing problem identification, because it would give you the right insight if this problem is worth solving or not. I'll see one. Yeah, so there is one more technique. There are 2-3 techniques which we can use for solving the problems. One of the most common technique is the 5 why problem solving method. We'll see what is that.
Call to change. And let's take a look, first of all, at how that relates to the problem-solving funnel as a frame, where we begin with a high-level problem. It might be something that's vague, it's something that we don't fully understand, but it's the problem coming at us on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis. What we want to do is break the problem down to understand it, get some data, get some facts, look for patterns, And from there, that means understanding the work. This is certainly a characteristic of lean problem solving, which is to deeply go and observe and understand the work. From there, we can identify a point of occurrence, also sometimes called the direct cause. It can also be thought of as a problem in its own right. Now, we can do the fun part, which is to start to ask the 5 whys. We put on our investigative hat and ask why is this occurring? That will lead us to the root cause, regarding which we can attach a countermeasure. So to look at this part of the problem-solving process of the 5 whys, or a causal chain, let's look at the famous example from Taiichi Ohno of Toyota, and the one that he used starting in the 1950s of a machine breaking down. So the problem that he saw as the manager of the machine shop was machines would often break down, and his people would often just attach a Band-Aid. They would only stop it at the first level of cause, meaning that the problems would recur, they would come back. So he trained himself and his people in to always ask the 5 whys, sometimes 3, sometimes 8, the point being to follow the causal chain all the way down to a root cause. So in this example, he looked at a machine that had stopped working and identified with the first why that it had blown a fuse in the control box because it was overloaded. The overload caused the fuse to blow. But he didn't stop there, asked why again, and recognized that insufficient lubrication was getting to the bearing. So the bearing, therefore, was causing the overload on the machine. Not stopping there, he went to the next cause and asking why, found that the pump was not drawing lubricant, so the lubricant then would not be sent to the bearing. Still not stopping there, okay, why, again, was the pump not drawing lubricant? Because the shaft was worn, causing it to rattle and not function properly. Now, another why there led him to a root cause, which was that there was no strainer that allowed metal chips to enter in and damage the pump. So with the damaged shaft, that would mean the pump wasn't drawing lubricant, so that there wasn't enough lubrication going to the bearing. That overloaded the machine and blew a fuse, and that stopped the machine from working. So he's got a 5 why causal chain going down to the root cause, and you can check that with a therefore chain going up as well. So now he knows if I apply a countermeasure here, which is to make sure there's a strainer, the problem will be solved so that it doesn't come back. So this is what can be accomplished with a fairly simple way of thinking, so that we're not just putting Band-Aids on symptoms, that we're solving problems at the root cause. Good luck in your problem-solving attempts.
This 5 whys, it can be 3 why, it can be 5, it can be 7, it can be 8, depending upon the severity of the problem. Suppose, for example, I give you one very simple example. Now, suppose students are coming late. Suppose we assume COVID is not there; it's a physical classroom. I've identified the problem. Students are coming late for the lectures. 9 o'clock is my lectures, I assume first, and they're coming late. So I need to ask why you are coming late. So they said we got stuck up in traffic. In Mumbai, it's morning and evening. There are typical hours where it's too much of traffic. We say peak hours, right? Morning say 8 to 9, 9:30 is the peak hours. Evening 4 to 7 is the peak hours. So you'll find at the time all people are moving to their office and all people are going back to their homes. So there's the morning and evening peak hours. So they'll tell me, ma'am, it's peak hours, so I got stuck up in traffic. My second why you got stuck up in traffic? Because I got the local late, I got the late local, suppose my timings were supposed to reach at 9, I was supposed to catch 8 o'clock Virar train. I caught at 8:15. Why you got the late local, So you say, I left my home late. Why you left your home late? Because I woke up late. Why you woke up late? Because I slept late. So the root cause is sleeping late, So instead of trying to identify the problem, okay, students are coming late just to the peak hours, doesn't solve it. So I need to understand the root problem. So whenever you're going for problem identification, you should try to understand the root cause of the problem, See, so there's a different way. We spoke about customer insight, and there is something called as understanding the root cause. Like Apple, when he was planning to launch into colors, he said why people resonate themselves with emotions, with colors. That's the reason we should have colors, The similar manner in this example, the root cause is students are sleeping late. They would be sitting on social media and all these things. So whatever be the reason, so that is the root cause. If I want my lecture to start at time, the root cause should be attended. So they should sleep early, so they wake up early, catch the first train, reach to the college early, something like this. So it's a cycle. Always try to understand the root cause of the problem. Whenever you're going for problem identification, it's going to help you to come with good solutions rather than going on an artificial way, or rather going on a superficial way, or at the first level only. One more technique is used for understanding the root cause analysis is called the fishbone diagram. I hope whatever concept we are discussing, it's clear, students. Any doubts till now? I know I'm little, it's going little fast because I want to teach you many concepts. Any doubts till now?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
We discussed everything is clear, I hope, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we'll see that fishbone analysis is one more technique which would help you to try to find out the root cause of a problem.
Hello, this is Monique here from Lean6SigmaSource.com. Fishbone diagram, when to use the fishbone diagram, and I'll also show you a short Sigma XL presentation on how to actually construct the fishbone diagram. So first, what is a fishbone diagram? Well, it's a tool used when you're brainstorming with a group of people for your Lean Six Sigma projects. And you're going to utilize the 5 whys, in which you continuously ask a question of why to drill down to root causes. And I'll demonstrate that in my presentation a little bit later. It also helps you to categorize potential sources of defects or root causes. And it can also help you identify possible failure modes. Other names for the fishbone diagram are the cause and effect diagram or the Ishikawa diagram. Ishikawa named after the Japanese engineer who popularized the fishbone diagram. The components of a fishbone diagram are the head of the fish, so to speak, which is the effect or the outcome. The horizontal branches, which are the causes. Then you have sub-branches, which represent the reasons. And then you're going to have your branches of your fish broken up into, usually for non-service processes, you're going to have it broken up into methods, materials, people, equipment, your measurement technique, and environment. Now for service processes, it can be helpful to use the 4 Ps, which are policies, procedures, plant, and people, to help you separate those things out. So when do you want to use a fishbone diagram? There are 2 phases when you want to use the fishbone diagram. The analyze phase, where you're going to brainstorm possible root causes, and also the improve phase, where you're going to create a list of failure modes for your failure modes and analysis. So let me do a quick example on paint defects. Okay, so I'm here in my Excel spreadsheet, and I already have my Sigma XL toolbar available. So I'm just going to go up here to Sigma XL, templates and calculators, cause and effect, fishbone diagram, and I'll click that option. Okay, now you can see the entire fishbone diagram here. You have a place to write your project name, your date, who did it, and some notes up here. You can see you'll have your people, material, environment, method, machine or equipment, measurement, and then the head of the fish here is your problem or effect, your statement. Okay, so let's do an example. Let's focus on first you're going to need to write your problem statement or effect. Okay, for this example, it's going to be paint, oop, I can spell that right, paint defects. Okay, and then, for example, let's talk about some possible sources of those paint defects. Let's look at people for a moment. Let's say you're brainstorming and somebody says, well, there's a lack of training. So we'll write that down. So being the next thing you want to do is ask, well, why is there a lack of training? Well, say you don't have defined procedures, so no defined procedures. It would be hard to ask the operators to check the paint if they don't know what they're checking for. So there's no parameters on what is supposed to be checked. And you can keep drilling down on why there's no defined procedures until you kind of get to it in doing that iteration of asking why. Material. So say you have like metal castings of some sort and they're sanded before they're painted. So somebody might say, well, we have issues because of sanding. Well, why is sanding an issue? Well, could it be that the discs are too rough? So discs too rough. And they're making grooves in the metal casting or whatnot to make the paint not adhere properly. Or could it be like the environment? And that example could be like your paint booth is too humid. Okay. Well, why is it humid? Well, there are no climate controls. Okay, so once you get climate controls, then you want to decide on, figure out what they need to be. So you keep drilling down, keep drilling down, keep drilling down. So let's do another one. Let's say measurement. Okay, say you don't want your paint to be too light or too thick, so you have a thickness meter. You say, well, it's the thickness meter. Well, what's wrong with the thickness meter? Could it be out of calibration? When was the last time it was calibrated? Okay, so you can see, so on and so forth, and that's what you want to do. So those are just a couple examples of how you can use this tool to go about brainstorming. And one thing that I do like about this is, like, I'm showing you this on Excel, and you could use this on your projector, using a computer to do this with a group, or you can use it with flip chart paper. And then it's really easy to add on to it. And let me show you that really quick. Okay, so let's see, method here. I'm going to get my crosshairs open and just drag this down. And then I'll pull the arrow back up to the line. Now, what I'll do now is I'll single click on this sub cause, hit Control, single click on the cause. And I'll copy, and then I'll paste. Okay, so let me drag that down. Here. Bada bing, bada boom, I have another cause and another sub-cause. So it's very easy to expand. You can do this on flip chart paper and then copy it to this type of format using this template. So your presentation will be nice and neat. So all you need to do is just copy it like as an image to put in your final presentation. So that's a demonstration on how to use Sigma Excel to do a fishbone diagram. So let me go back to my presentation here and show you what we've covered so far. All right, so we've done a demonstration on Sigma Excel for paint defects. And today what we've covered is what is a fishbone diagram,
Exactly, the fishbone diagram. Why it's called a fishbone diagram? Because it's look like a shape of a fish, you know. So in the where's the head of the fish? Now we write the root problem. Now suppose if I wrote the root problem, students coming late to class. Okay, so that is the root problem. And then you try to draw like four draw horizontal and vertical lines. You know. So those lines are the causes. So the first cause would be the people. I divide into 5 people, procedure, methods, measurements, and all these things. So the procedure would be what? What comes in procedure? Not reaching on time. The people would be students are coming late to the class. So then you try to find out why they are coming late to the class, because they are getting up late. Going to why? If we come to that key, the subconscious they get stuck up in the traffic, and that's the reason they are not able to catch the train on time, something like this. So it also gives you an analysis of understanding the problem. So whenever you're going for problem identification, that time also you can use the fishbone analysis, or any time, any period of time when you move ahead from problem identification, when you're coming up with solutions, or maybe after launching the product or the services, or maybe when if you're working in corporate or anywhere you're working, see all these techniques can be used anywhere. The 5 why can be also used in the problem identification to write from where you are working. In a similar manner, fishbone analysis could be done in each and every stage of your product development. Okay, so you can identify. Okay, now suppose if you have from product identification, we have moved on to coming up to solutions. So when you're doing your solutions, okay, when you're coming up with solutions of that water bottle, suppose the senior citizen, I give you example where there should be a small holder where I can insert the capsules. There should be an alarm and all these things. Now suppose at that stage also you're stuck up, so you can use the 5 why, or you can use fishbone analysis again over there also to understand what is the main problem, why the product is not developed into this particular way, right? So it can be used at every stage of your product or service development. There is one more technique called as I think you have to catch up with one more lecture, right? I'll just give you the name. There is one more technique called as the golden circle. So, in short, I'll tell you, you can Google it, you will find it. If you want, I'll share in the chat box also the link. You can go through it later. I will say it, I think, right? Am I audible, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. This golden circle also, Apple also, let's take the example, why, how and what. So, customers, when you're doing the problem identification, you should always try to understand the why of the customer. Okay? So, this is a 3 circle. We write the why inside, how and then what. Why the purpose? Why people want to use Apple phone? Why people would like to use your product? It should be why, your purpose, your motivation, what do you believe in this? How would you want your process? So are you using the technology? Are you using the traditional method? Or suppose you're going for locker system, so you would have a customized locker system. You will have a traditional method. You hire somebody who will use the locker system. Also, that is the process. And the result is a good locker system in the campus. So the customers are not interested in your result. The customers will be more interested when you solve the why of the customer. Why you want to install a locker system, because students are facing those problems. That is the reason you want to install. What you install, how you install is not the customer, not the concern of the customer. The why is the concern of the customer. So whenever you are going for problem identification, need finding you want to find out the solution, you are going for that, you should always understand the why part rather than the how and what part. So we as students, we always get stuck up in, हम कैसे करेंगे, what we are going to do, how we are going to solve the problem. No. Don't get stuck up into how and what. Always go for the why part of the problem identification. It's called from the inside out. Rather than going from outside out, you should always go from inside and out. And there is one more technique called as an empathy map. Some other time, if we get time, I'll definitely discuss this. Was a very wonderful concept, So we'll discuss someday this empathy map. And there is something called as the, networking interview tips are also very good when you go to interview your customers and always think, please watch this video. I wanted to discuss this video, but we are running short of time. So please watch this video also. There is something called as, this types of thinking, So there is something called as divergent thinking and there is something called as convergent thinking, So divergent means you go to different, you have got different ideas, you diverge your thought process and converge from those different ideas, you come to a common solution. That is called a sweet spot. Sweet spot means finding the right problem of the customer. So you go to the market, you keep on asking questions, so you try to find out different questions, different problems, identify the insights. So that is called as diverge thinking, And then you come back to normally you come back to your incubation or you come back to your desk and then you try to converge from all these problems what you have identified to come to a common solution, right? So this is called as convergent thinking. So again an interesting video about convergent thinking and convergent thinking. Again I'll share it in the chat box, you can go through that. Any more questions? I know it was very fast. I wanted to teach you many concepts. So I'm really sorry I could not give you time for discussion. But still, any doubts, any questions, students? I'm open for that. Anyone?
Would an FGD be a better way than rather than conducting a survey in order to empathize with the customers?
Group discussion. See, group discussion something would be helpful when people should come on the table to discuss with you. Why would they come to you, right? Yeah. So it's always better you go to the customers, So see, there was someday, if Aniket is there, Aniket, if you give me 2 or 3, 4 hours, I would like to conduct a design thinking workshop with them, and I'll teach you, why you need to go to the customer. Yeah. Why students, you can connect to me anytime, I'll share my email ID, you're free to connect me, right? You can take my number also, no worries in that. So Sanket, what happens is you should go in this setting, See, if I call now, suppose you are planning to launch a product, okay, and if I call in this my cabin, I'm right now staying in my college, I'll call in the people over here, so they'll behave in a different manner because see, this is an institute, all ACs are there, chairs are there, they'll behave in a different manner. Okay, but when I go to the customer in the real setting, so what they are doing, so they'll behave very naturally and normally, So in research we do this disguise, this thing. We go, the disguise thinking is different thing. Some other day we'll talk about it. So I go to the customer now. There is now suppose this bank is planning to launch a services for poor people. Just imagine in the bank, if the manager calls those poor people and says, if I get on my check, have a cup of coffee and not tell me why I'm not opening an account in my bank. So do you think you would be comfortable sharing with me? मेरे पास तो पैसे ही नहीं है, hardly earning 5,000, 6,000 rupees a month. How can I open a saving account in your bank? So you would be uncomfortable in sharing the real reason for not opening an account. Now the manager goes to you is setting. Where he has a small hut or where he has just got a small, food का जो भी उसका छोटा सा business है, when the manager goes there, he would be comfortable. He is the king in his own place. Now he would be comfortable कि sir आप खुद देख लो, the whole day I'm sitting over here, I'm hardly earning 4,000, 5,000 rupees. How can I open up this bank? So always you should go to the customer rather than calling all those customer at your place, right?
One question. We are going to have to be in a virtual setting due to the restrictions.
Yes.
So, in those cases, how should we approach them? this. We will have to call them on a meet, basically, usually.
But Sanket, how many people will be ready to come to meet you? So you need to identify. Now, what is your problem identification? I mean, let's say what sort of problem you are going to idea you are going to generate. It depends on that also. Now, suppose if you are coming up with an app or something for say teachers, so maybe teachers would be comfortable talking to you on a virtual platform. But if you are planning to come up with an app for a retailer shop, so the retailers won't be interested to come on your virtual platform. Na? So you need to, at this COVID situation, you need to find out some solutions something. See, everybody is traveling, everybody is going with mask and all those things. You need to find out a solution something.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, one question.
Yes, sure.
Yes, ma'am. Suppose we are going to convert our idea into the product. Okay, that is a completely new idea and we are converting it into a product. How we can understand the psychology of the person who are going to use that product?
So you have to keep on saying, let me tell you a very brutal fact, so when you design something, you do prototyping, you go to the market to test the prototype, right? And when you go, believe me, out of 20, 15 will say, we'll buy your product. You say, they will say, wow, wonderful idea, Ananda, very good, this thing, we'll go to buy the product. But when they say, go and find the early adapters, means who are ready to pay you 50 rupees. Now, second time you go and tell, but my idea is very good, now pay me minimum 50 rupees. Right? Next month I'm planning to launch this product. So 50 rupees minimum आप मुझे दो. So that is the real time when you come to know if they are interested in your product or not. So the psychology, understanding the psychology of the customer is one of a very difficult tasks. Because today, see, because if you right now look at situation, there's a fear that again of COVID, again this lockdown will be there, so many things will be there. So right now things are normal. You will come to. ID product. And tomorrow again it's work from home. We are told not to come in the campus. So maybe again you ask, ma'am, would you buy the product? I'll say, now it's work from home. I don't need your product, Ananda. So I'm not going to buy it, right? The psychology is the most difficult and complicated thing to understand of the customer. Because of the company, this Ford or this some brands, even they lost huge market share. They launched some in 90s. 80s they had launched a new their luxury car. So they had done a survey to this luxury car will be in demand or not. Such big companies definitely it's a huge R&D department, research and development. Still that time they launched their product, it was inflation was going on. The economy was under inflation.
We are doing something new. First time people are not accepting. Maybe useful, but that they are not accepting.
Another change is always difficult here. Change is always difficult. Yeah. I know I would have loved to continue, but I know you all the other faculty would be waiting. So you have my number and my email. Please students don't hesitate to, if got any doubts, you can come to me anytime. I will be more than happy to guide you.
Yes, ma'am, for sure.
Sure. I mean, they're not having, yeah. Thank you so much. I'm sorry if I missed anything. I was running a little fast because I wanted to cover many topics. So, thank you so much. It was wonderful interacting with you all. God bless you so much.
Have a nice day, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye-bye. I hope you all enjoyed it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, ma'am. It was a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Santosh from Desi Collab.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think this is one wonderful session that we had today. In spite of personal urgencies on ma'am's side, she managed to do this, and I think if she would have not done this today, all the participants would have lost such an opportunity to let's say understand how to deal with problems, because as a expert of this field, I have been always witnessing the fact that there are people around that talk about ideas and they want to take your ideas to the next level, but there is very few kind of people are interested in giving even support beforehand, where there is no idea that is being created. Okay, so idea generation in itself is a next step. There is earlier step to discover the problem, because once a person discovers problem which is the right problem worth solving, then only all those efforts to take the problem to the next level and solve it by using various tools, techniques, ideas, methodologies would work. So I think this being the first session in the series of workshops that are organized through this business competition is in itself very important session that Jyoti ma'am today did. I think from Desico Lab and GI's head, the whole organizer team is really very thankful to ma'am for accepting this and presenting such a wonderful presentation with all smallest details of all the tools that she has compiled and presented were wonderful. I think all the participants would use those tools in their journey of entrepreneurship, and even for the sake of this competition they will use all these tools and techniques, try to dig deeper into all these tools in order to make their proposal much richer in terms of insights, in terms of problem discovery, and would move on to the next level. I also thank all the participants for their patience, because in the virtual days it is very difficult to have such a patience also to listen, and these concepts are really let's say complicated that way, and at times they are not so easy to digest. But it is really wonderful, people interacting all the time, asking questions, putting up their doubts, and it was really a great treat to have host this whole show on the behalf of this competition. I look forward the participant to also participate in this competition on a much interactive level, and they will keep on asking the questions and all. So I hope all these workshops in the series would help you to come up with a very nice proposal that is winning, and you will grab the let's say excellence certificates and rewards that are being proposed. I also request Jyoti ma'am to keep on us being associated with Desico Lab, GIZ, and all our initiative, and conclude this today's session of problem solving and need identification. Now, I would request all the participants also to be present for the next session, which is going to be hosted very soon. So, for now, I conclude this session, and thanks to all the participants and Jyoti ma'am especially. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Definitely, we love to work with Desi Kala. Great initiative.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye bye, everyone. Take care. God bless everyone.
काय शिवकर लिंक ओपन 15 तिला अर्धा पण सांगितलं. ओके थँक्यू.